ביאור משנה ה', explanation for משנה ה'. מכאן ועד סוף פרקנו, from here until the end of the chapter, עוסקות המשניות בדיני אבלות במועד. The Mishnah is going to deal with mourning during the חול המועד. וכהקדמה לכך בא משנתנו ללמד, as an introduction, the Mishnah is going to teach us, שרגל הפוגע באבלות, that if a holiday comes in during the morning time, של שיבה, let's say it's in the middle of שיבה, או של 30, or even the Shiva, or the 30 days mourning period, מבטל את האבלות. The regel itself nullifies the avilut. In other words, there's no more mourning.
No mourning. You don't have to sit Shiva.
And you don't have to do the 30.
זה מועד או חול המועד?
When it doesn't matter. מועד comes in. So if the מועד comes in, חול המועד זה after it.
לא, חשבתי אולי אתה חול במועד לא, and then חול המועד לשבת.
The מועד itself מבטל אותו. ולהבלת המשנה יש להקדים. To understand the Mishnah we have to understand. שאבל כל 7 הימים הראשונים. So let's see. The mourner, the first 7 days, אסור ברחיצת הגוף, is not allowed to wash his body, ובחיבוס בגדיו, washing his clothes, בנעילת הסנדל, wearing leather shoes, ובעשיית מלאכה, going to work, ובשאלת שלום, and saying שלום עליכם to people. וחייב בעטיפת הראש, he needs to show that he is mourning with his clothing, בכפיית המיטה, he needs to, in those time, turn over the bed on the floor, ואסור לקרות בתורה. And he's not allowed to get an aliyah to read in the Torah. ועוד. in Rambam. Okay. איסורים אלו נקראים במשנתנו גזירת שיבה. All these prohibitions, we're going to call them the decrees of the 7. There's decrees of the 7 that the mourner has to follow. משבעה ועד תשלום 30 יום, after the shiva until 30 days, נוהג האבל בקצת דברי אבלות. Then there's still a little bit of the mourning practices that stays. What are the little bit of the mourning practices? אסור ללבוש בגד חדש, he's not allowed to buy new clothing, or wearing new clothing, או בגד לבן מגואץ, or even the Shabbos clothing, it's not allowed to be completely, wrinkle free. אסור בתספורת, he's not allowed to take a haircut, ובסעודת הרשות, not allowed to go to weddings, and so on and so forth. וללכת בסחורה. And also he's not allowed to go starting, let's say he's a merchant. So he's going from town to town for business. Yeah. איסורים אלו נקראים במשנת גזירת 30. So this prohibition is called the decree of the 30s. בגמרא אמרו, the Gemara they explain, שלושה שלבים באבלות, you have 3 levels in mourning, 3 ימים לבכי, you have 3 days for crying, 7 להספד, 7 days for hesped, to eulogize, ו30 לגיהוץ ולתספורת, and 30 days for new clothing and for haircut. כלומר, שאסור בהם בגיהוץ ובתספורת. מכאן, ששלושת הימים הראשונים הם עיקר אבלות. But the 3 first days are the main mourning. Okay. So we're going to see the first 3 days are the important one. If you pass them, you don't have. If you didn't pass them, then you might have all the 30, we'll see soon. הקובר את מתו 3 ימים קודם לרגל. So somebody buried his dead person 3 days before, let's say, סוכות. היינו שנהג אבלות קודם הרגל 3 ימים. What does it mean? It means that he was a mourner for 3 days, and then the regel came. So at that moment that the regel came, it doesn't matter which regel, which holiday came, בטלה הימנו גזירת שיבה. When I say regel, I mean Sukkot, I don't mean Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Yeah, 3 רגלים. Only Sukkot, Shavuot, and Pesach. Pesach. Not Rosh Hashanah, not Yom Kippur. Yeah. בטלה הימנו גזירת שיבה. So if he already set the main part is 3 days, the 3 days of the Bechi, he already mourned. So if he already mourned, the holiday takes away. He says, okay, you're not a mourner for the 7 days now. You don't need to mourn. Because the holiday is going to be 7 days.
So you did the 3 and
that's it. So and on the 7 days you already did, because that's the holiday. So the holidays take away the 7. ואינו צריך להשלים את 7 ימי האבלות לאחר הרגל. And he doesn't need to do the 7 days after the holiday. In other words,
The holiday nullified the
that's why he took care of it. גזירת 30 לא בטלה, but he still have the 30 obviously. After the holiday he still have the laws of the 30. וחייב הוא להשלים לאחר הרגל את האבלות של 30. And he needs to take after the רגל, the being a mourner for 30 days. Okay. 8. So if it was, he already did the 7 days, which means 8 days. He already established, in other words, he did 1 day of the 30. He did 1 day of the 30.
Okay.
If it's 8 days before, he did 1 day of the 30. So if he did 1 day of the 30, הקוברת מתו 8 ימים קודם לרגל, so if he buried his dead, and he already did 1 day of the 30, ונמצא שכבר נהג יום אחד לפני הרגל ב-30, בטלה ממנו גזירת 30. Then the 30 goes away. The holiday takes care of the 30. Now he doesn't have 30. In other words, immediately after the holiday, he can take a haircut. Yeah? לגמרי. ואינו חייב עוד לנהוג לאחר רגל דיני אבלות של 30. And all these laws of the 30 days do not apply to him. מפני שאמרו חכמים, because the sage says, שבת עולה למניין שיבה. It says, yeah, but it's only the regel. But it says the Shabbat of the regel, and the Shabbat of the beforehand, the Shabbat of the 8 days. There was one Shabbat over there, yeah? So it says only 7 days. So we're going to count it as if it is a mourning period. Even though the Shabbat doesn't elevate, only holiday elevates, but we're going to count it as if. והשבת שבתוך ימי השבעה מצטרכת לשבעת ימי האבלות. So the 7 days, even though it doesn't nullify the mourning, yeah, the Shabbat doesn't nullify the mourning, but because it's coming just before the holiday, we're going to add the Shabbat to the holidays, as if the Shabbat was the status of the holiday.
But I thought the Shabbat does nullify
the Shabbat nullifies the mourning for Shabbat. That's it. Yeah. Afterwards you continue. Yeah. But he doesn't cut it off. Yeah. So he doesn't have to cut it off. Over here you say, no. So the same thing. Completely. So over here it's cut off completely. Yeah. הואיל ונוהגים באבלות בדברים שבצינה. It says because you still are a mourner on Shabbat, you just not a mourner in public. וכן עולה שבת למניין 30. And also the Shabbat counts as the part of the 30, ואינה מפסקת. But as we said over here, but Shabbat on itself doesn't cut it off. אינה מבטלת את האבלות שחייבים להמשיך לאחר השבת באבלות של 70 ושל 30. Because let's say it's on a holiday and Shabbat falls in, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't nullify it by itself. It needs the other ones. שחייבים להמשיך לאחר השבת באבלות של 7 ושל 30. You need to finish after Shabbat either the 7 or the 30. ויש מבארים הטעם לפי שבשבת נאמר עונג. There are those says the reason why you count Shabbat, because in Shabbat it says oneg velo simcha, and not happiness. So it kind of in between. ויש מבארים לפי שאי אפשר לשבעת הימים בלא שבת. It says you can't go 7 days without Shabbat anyway. Anyway, 7 days it has to have a Shabbat. ואילו הייתה שבת מפסיקה, לא היה לעולם שבעת ימים. And if the Shabbat was ending, then you would never have Sheva. Yeah, exactly. רגלים מפסיקים, the רגל stops the morning, מבטלים את האבלות, אם כבר התחיל לנהוג בה קודם הרגל. As long as you started before the holiday. ואינם עולים למניין שיבה. But they do not count as the Shiva. כגון. So let's take an example that he didn't do the main 3. You know, he was in mourning only 2 days before the holidays. Let's take that example. כגון, אם לא נהג אבלות קודם הרגל אלא 2 ימים. So before the holiday, he was only mourner for 2 days. So now, since he didn't do the main part of the mourning, didn't have the 3, so he has to complete it after the holiday. In other words, the holiday that doesn't care. What does he do? It stops it for 7 days. It gives him, okay, you stop for 7 days, but then you'll have to continue now after the holiday. צריך להשלים 5 ימי אבלות לאחר רגל. He needs to add 5 more days for the Sheva, for the 7 after the holiday. ברמה ההלכה היא, בת דהלכה היא, שהקוברת מתו אפילו שעה אחת קודם לרגל, that the way we do it is even if somebody buries his dead even 1 hour before the holiday, בטלה ממנו גזירת שיבה. That we don't have to do shiva at all. ואם לא נהג אבילות קודם הרגל, and if he didn't do any mourning before the רגל, כגון שקבר את מתו בתוך הרגל, for example, that he buried his dead inside the רגל, חול המועד, let's say, אין ימי הרגל עולים למניין שיבה. Then, let's say he did it in Eretz Israel on the first day of חול המועד. Yeah? So, the 7 days, from now, all the 6 days that are following out is not part of the 7. He's going to start counting after the regel 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
So even if it's 1 hour before, then you have to do Shiva after the regel.
That's right. No. If it's 1 hour before, he has halacha today. There's no the regel.
That's what I was thinking.
Nothing. He's the morning already. He's the morning. But if he buried on Chol HaMoed, on Chol HaMoed, let's say in the first day of Chol HaMoed he buried. So he thinks now he's got 6 days of Chol HaMoed that he already did. He only need to do 1 more after. No.
But he can't do 6 days of Chol HaMoed.
That's right. So the holiday has to start in order to nullify it. If it's in between, now you have to go 7 days after the holiday. ומתחיל למנות 7 אחרי הרגל. He has to count the 7 after the holiday. ומכל מקום עולים ימי הרגל מניין 30. But to the 30, we're going to count the 6 days. The 6 days of the regels for the 30 we are going to count. Okay.